waistband, I already went and stitched my front to my back, pressed my seam open, and then I applied my interfacing to the wrong side. Now I am going to sew these two ends together using my seam allowance, and then press that seam open. I will also take my lining of my waistband and sew the two ends together and press those open. I stitched the other half of the waistband. I pressed my seam open, then I found the center front and center back and placed a pin in both sides. Then I pressed both my seams open on my lining of my waistband, and I pressed up the bottom edge towards the inside 1/4 of an inch as directed. Now I'm going to take my waistband, right sides together, the front of the waistband is the shorter end, so this is my front. Match this up with the center front of my shorts. Match my side seams with my waistband. Center back. The other side seam. Then I'm going to stitch all the way around this to attach the waistband to my shorts with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I attached my waistband, I pressed my seam allowances up, I found the center front and the center back, I found the center front and the center back of my waistband lining. Now I'm going to put these right sides together. Matching up the center front, the side seam, and then I'm going to stitch the waistband and the waistband lining together with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I've pressed the lining of my waistband to the inside. You can see the outside, the exterior of the waistband peeping through on the inside. Now it's time to add your waistband elastic. So open up the inside, open up the waistband and pin, meeting up your edge of your elastic with your seam allowance. This is where you would want to try these on before pinning, but since we've already made a pair of these, I know that this size fits my daughter, so I'm not worried about that. pull this around to the back. Making sure not to twist it. Line it up on this side. You're keeping the edge of the elastic between those two creases that you already have. Pinning. And now I'm going to go and stitch here. I could come to this side and just stitch in the ditch to secure this right here, and then do the same thing on this side to securely fasten it in place. I've gone and sectioned my elastic and the back of my waistband into 4 sections. To do this, I matched up my side seams, found the center back of the elastic and the waistband, placed a pin, and then I brought that center back piece to that side seam, marked that, and then did the same thing on the other side. Did the same thing on the back waistband lining. Now match those points up, folding the edge of the lining over your elastic and pin or clip that your elastic's going right into that crease that you created. I'm going to fold this over the side seams and start here with a nice back stitch, and as I'm attaching my waistband lining to my elastic, I'm going to slightly pull my elastic till it's the same length as my waistband lining, and stretching each section till I get to the next pin as I go, until I get all the way to the end of my elastic. I stitched my elastic into my lining of my waistband. Now turn your lining towards the inside. This is where, if you have clips, they come in handy. Because you want that elastic folded up in that seam as much as possible. To meet right there. So you'll do that, and then for the back of your elastic, and then since you have that, your clip holding it, you can then easily pull and fold that down, and then from the right side, do it this way. here. I can feel that that's going through all layers. So you will work to do that along the back like that. Make sure it's nice and flat. Add a pin. Then on the front, the clips aren't really necessary because you're not dealing with an extra layer. Fold this along that crease that you created before. Make it nice and flat. Then add a pin. I like to add it right in where that seam is because I know it's going to catch this right here. So you're going to do that all the way around, and then you will go and top stitch all the way around your seam that's closest to your shorts or skirt. And when you're doing your elastic, you'll want to pull your elastic slightly so that it's the length of your fabric, just like you did when you were sewing this seam right here, or covering the elastic on this side. Instead of sewing 1/8 of an inch away from the seam where the shorts meet the waistband to top stitch, I chose to stitch in the ditch instead. I just wanted to try something different than what I did with the last pair that I made. I like how clean it looks on the back. I then also stitched in the ditch along here just because it was easier to go all the way around. And then I did a top stitch 1/8 of an inch away just on the front of the waistband. I stitched in the ditch along the side, both side seams, and then I top stitched just on the front 1/8 of an inch away from the top edge of the waistband. So now my waistband for my shorts is done.